So this is what we're making. Twisted wire crossover ring with 1.25 square wire twisted. So get your ring size, make sure that it's a couple of sizes bigger than normal. Add the diameter and the wire, and for this one I'm using square 1.25 millimeters, and I'm going to anneal it and twist it. I'm just going to hold this in my bench vise and use my parallel jaw pliers, and I want an even twist on the wire. It doesn't have to be a really tight twist, but we'd like for it to be the same from one end to the other. So if it's tighter on this end, when you're twisting it, turn it around and do the other end. You can use vice grips on this, probably be easier. Yeah, see now this end is slightly tighter than that end. So we'll just flip it. And just grab the very end because it will damage the end and it'll have to be cut off. Okay. So now I'll saw that end off, measure, and my measurement is 64 millimeters. So once you've cut your pieces, file the ends flat with your number 2 cut flat hand file, and then anneal them again before you try to bend them into a ring, because you will have work hardened it by twisting it. So just use your flat half-round pliers for forming these. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. We just want the ends to match as perfectly as we can get them. But be careful when you're doing this, because you don't want to put marks from the pliers in, because it's twisted wire. It'll be really difficult to tidy this up. So what you want is get it lined up as well as you can, and then we're going to solder it. We'll just hold it in a third hand, and I'll show you. So I have these with the joint down, facing down. So I'm just going to flux top and bottom. I have hard solder, and I'm going to pick up a piece of the solder. It's a fairly small piece. Now what I'm going to do is heat this from underneath and place my solder on the inside. I don't want a big blob of solder on the outside, which is why I'm doing this, because it's difficult to tidy up this join. With the twisted wire. And I'll go ahead and anneal these since I'm here. So we want to manipulate these as little as possible. So we just quench these, pickle them, and tidy up the join. And if you did a good job, there'll be just a small amount of solder to tidy up. So then we'll make these round and we'll cut them so that we can solder them back together. So once they're round, make sure that they're flat. And just like that. Tidy up the joint, and I'm just using an abrasive disc on my handpiece. So just a little bit at a time, and we want to make this so that the joint is basically invisible. So don't round off the flat wire, and don't take too much material off, because if you do, you can't fix it. Tidy them both up. Now, normally I would anneal my rings before I cut them, but because we don't care if they spring open a little bit, I'm just going to line up my solder joins, and I'm going to cut these about 90 degrees away. And I'm just going to use the old ring clamp. So I've got my rings together, and I'm just going to cut them both at the same time. And I want a fairly steep angle on these because I want them to be fairly close together. And by cutting them both at the same time, I'll have the same angle on each one of them. So you can see they only popped apart a little bit, and I'm not going to do anything to these other than assemble them and solder them. So you can see I'm just pushing the two rings over each other, and you can see that it's a fairly good join just the way it is. But what I will do is slip them on the ring mandrel just so that they're even. So this is just the easy way to do it. Yep. So now we're ready to solder. Now, there's a joint up and a joint down. I'm going to do the joint down thing again. So I'm just going to flux, and this is two joins, so I'm going to use two small pieces of solder. My regular old neutral flame. And I'm going to pick the solder up one piece at a time on my solder pick, and I'm going to heat from underneath. Place the solder. And that's what happens when you heat it too hot. A little bit of real life there. What happened was I had the solder join too close to where I cut this ring, and when I was heating it, it just opened up the join. So I've resoldered it, and now I can reassemble the ring. And what I'll do is I'll solder this bit first, So once it's soldered, I can go back and solder this bit and it won't open up and fall apart again. Well, I don't know how I managed to do it, but I managed to get my initial cut lined up with where I'm going to solder. So I've got 2 pieces of hard solder on top, just because I need to see what's happening with the solder, so that I don't heat it until it falls apart again. So now that's held, I can turn it over and do the bottom, or I can just do the bottom. So flux top and bottom, and once again 2 small pieces of solder. That I'll place with my solder pick. So 1 at each joint. Flow the solder, and then quench it, pickle it, and have a look. And if it's good, we'll just tidy up the joints and polish it. If it's not good, we'll go back and resolder it. Well, it looks fairly respectable. But you can see the bloody solder joint is right there where I'm trying to solder my other 2 pieces to it. So it's no wonder it opened up again. But this looks pretty good to me, so we'll pickle it and clean it up. So come out of the pickle, check your solder joints, and I'm going to tidy them up using this abrasive disc again. Now, be really careful when you're tidying these up, because you don't want to take the flat part of the twisted wire off. So minimal cleanup. I probably wouldn't do any more than that. Then hallmark it and polish it. And tidy up your joints inside and out. You could try using a file to tidy this up, but I think you'll be happier with an abrasive disc on your handpiece, because you can just do a little bit of it at a time, keep your eye on it, and we really do want to keep this minimal. Now, if you do polish this on your Tripoli wheel, spend as little time there as possible, or you're going to round off all of your edges on your square wire. So what I would do is I would put this in a tumbler, and that way it keeps the really sharp edges, or really spend a short amount of time on the Tripoli wheel. So this is it, a twisted wire crossover ring.